Wow. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to post these both at once so that you can watch the second part. I wasn't quite finished. I wanted to get to the Mount Etnas and how they fared in the rain from the excessive rains of Hurricane Debbie, the remnants of it. And I was filming this. I must have hit something. I was trying to get this branch under this net. I was talking about the birds, and I was showing how. So please watch part one, and I'll make this one part two, and I'll post them both simultaneously. But I picked a lot of these. Debbie had me come out here so she could make some bread and give it to some relatives and friends. And our son came over. He loved it. Absolutely loved the bread, you know. And it's so delicious. It's one of the best things that Debbie bakes, and she bakes so many good things. So that's saying a lot because she's a really good cook and baker. But here's the rondi, and it's still intact. But some of them have cracked. See this? Look, see how they split? Let's be truthful about this. But remember, these were very advanced in the ripening stage compared to all of the other varieties. The LSU Tiger was pretty much along too. And I picked a lot of them to save them from the rain. But look over here. See, here's another one that's spoiled. You see that? Can you see that? So some of them are, some of them aren't. And some of the ones I picked that we made into bread were starting to open up, and so I needed to rescue them. Wow. Delicious. Still delicious, my Rondi Bordeaux. That looks like the work of a squirrel again. By the way, I have my squirrel trapper over there, and I haven't caught him yet. He's been outsmarting me. This is what I call the Carlo, after my father, Celeste, that I've talked about, and it's just magnificent. Let's get a couple of these here. I know these are large Celeste. Some variants are much smaller. See, that's almost the size of a Rondi Bordeaux, or in some cases they're larger. Rich. Much richer than what I call ordinary small Celeste. I love this variant. And it all comes down to performance. Even though, and I mentioned this just recently. Oh, look at that one. That one looks really nice. See, they're holding up nicely. Celeste does hold up nicely. Oh, look at that. These are beautiful. Hey, Mr. Ant, get going. Go find something else to eat. There we are. Take another bite. It's so good. The flavor of this is different. Trees just taste differently, even though they're the same genetic background. It comes to performance. Just like recently the Olympics in France. Some people run faster than others, but they're all people. Okay, but they're different. One brother can be very different than another brother. You know, one person can be very different than another person. I know these aren't persons. But it's the same with trees. It's the same with bushes and plants and flowers. I mean, just some are more vibrant. But it depends on their lineage, their genetic lineage. Look in there. Look at that. Beautiful. Look at these beautiful fruits. I hope that you can see them as well as I'm seeing them. Look at that. Big, beautiful, wonderful Celeste. Look at that. That one's bigger than the Rondi. Look at that. It's big and sweet. Oh, I love that. Let's go over to the Maverick. The Maverick held out good, but they weren't near maturation or fruition. They were the least ripe. And so these have started to turn more in the last couple of days when it's not been raining after the storm. But they're holding up beautifully. Of course, the ground is waterlogged from all the rain, but they're holding up really well. This is the Mount Etna type, hardy Chicago type, which I have said, I've talked about this tree, this Mavera. They are my largest. When this year they're not quite as large as every year is a fluctuation in everything. So never judge a tree in 1 year or 2 years. Wait a couple years, because 1 year you might get rather mediocre results, and the next year it might be better. And the older the tree gets, I have found, the better it gets. So be patient. Being a fixer requires patience. There's no other way for me to describe that. Period. It's just not like growing flowers from seed or tomato plants or zucchini. You just don't get results in one summer. It takes years. Be patient. Always get a good variety from a good source, a good variant, one that has proven to be so, and that will increase your odds enormously. And you want your odds to be increased enormously. Okay? The laws of probability. You want to increase the probability that you're going to get a good one. So you try to get a good cutting or a good tree from a good source, a good reliable source, and you know that that person is happy with the results over a few years, not just in any one particular year. Here's a very, very beautiful Mavera that's not ripe to the second of perfection, like I like to say, but it's ripe to the day of perfection. It would probably be better tonight. It's earlier today, and maybe later tonight around 6 or 7 o'clock it would be a little better, but it's certainly, you can tell. Let's have a taste. It's very delicious. It's good. It's so good. I feel like eating them all. I'm going to pick a few after this. Here we have the Malta Black. And the Malta Black, even though the ground is heavily saturated with water, they're doing very nicely, as you can see. It's getting ripe a little later than the Mavera. My hardy Chicago Unknown, I might just shoot over there for a second and feature that. A lot of them have been picked already, and it's done very well too. It did really well. Should I pick this? This one looks like it's almost, you know what? I'm going to leave that for the moment or the second of perfection, and then give it to Debbie later. Oh, this one though is, ooh, well, wow, this one. Let's take this one. I'm going to take this one. This one's good. Wow, it's a big one too. Oh my goodness, look at that glistening, delicious nectar. How wonderful that is. That's superb. We caught this one just right, Fixsters. This is how you want to catch them. This one's just right. You know what? I should put this aside. Yeah, bring that into Debbie. She's gonna love that one. Yeah. Well, I can let you know how it tastes. I'll save the better side for her. They're both delicious. Let me taste this one side. Wow. There's no question that one was picked at an optimal time. And I'll go over here. This is Improved Celeste. The Improved Celeste was a little bit disappointing to me during the heavy rains. Let me put these down here. Okay. Because they did swell up when they were getting ripe. In all fairness, this one was advanced in maturation too, and in the ripening process. Here's one that I didn't see underneath that got spoiled. Throw that one away. And a lot of them had already been picked before the rains, but I'm not happy with this improved Celeste compared to my ordinary Celeste, or my Celeste. See, this is pretty much, you can see that's all full of water and spoiled. No, I can tell you that, and I was mentioning to you before about the color. The color is not the same. It's not as rich. Improved Celeste is not as rich as my variants over there, which you can plainly see. And I mentioned in a just recently prior video that I wish that Dr. O'Rourke and his team had not mentioned or had not named improved Celeste, because it produces a negative connotation towards ordinary Celeste. And there is no negative connotations. And I mentioned the only reason why they wanted to maybe improve Celeste was because it doesn't have a Breba crop that's dependable and reliable. Just a few. This particular variant has the most I've ever had, more than any of the others I've ever had. But they're still not significant, and they're not of the higher quality of the main crop. That fig variety does produce some Breba, but for the most part they fall off on Celeste, and you don't look for a Breba crop with Celeste. It's a main crop fig. That's what it is. It's a main crop fig. So by crossing it with other Capra figs, Dr. O'Rourke's intention and his team were to produce something as good as Celeste, but maybe had Breba. And because Celeste is not a real big fig, this one's a pretty big fig. You just saw how big it is. But to get a bigger fig, you could cross it again. So you might get some Breba, might get a bigger fig. Maybe you get some different interesting figs, different qualities, like the LSU Tiger I mentioned a little while ago. And it's all true. LSU Purple is a very unique fig. It's not as rich as a lot of other figs. I don't like the flavor as much, but it's a very, very, very commendable fig that came out of the LSU trials. That one there, Champagne, is a favorite of many if you like honey figs, and I certainly love honey figs. And this is a wonderful, it's a little later than other varieties. It's not coming to fruition right now, but it's a very interesting, and it was Dr. O'Rourke's favorite of all of the LSU figs. Celeste was Dr. O'Rourke's favorite, even though that wasn't named after his namesake, like O'Rourke, which I showed you just a little while ago. I like that very, very, very much. I just love having good, solid, winter-hardy varieties in my collection here that I can rely on, figs that I can depend on, that I can count on, and I can do that with that. And I can do it with improved Celeste, and I highly recommend it. If you don't get excessive rains, it's a very, very good, dependable, reliable, solid fig to have in your collection. It's a staple, and I recommend it. Do I recommend it more than ordinary Celeste or certain variants of Celeste? Absolutely not. I feel they're better. And that's why I wish it never had that namesake. I just wish they had given it another name, like they did with all these others, with Champagne or with LSU Tiger, with O'Rourke, LSU Purple. There were so many of them, and many of them are very good. And they're all different, which is very interesting. But I think that created a problem when they named this one Improved Celeste, because it's not Celeste. But it's early, and it's reliable, and it's delicious. It's sweet. It's not as rich, but it's a fig you want to have in your collection for sure. And it's not as winter hardy either as ordinary Celeste. Okay, so we wore that out now, but I hope I put that to bed forever. I don't want to talk about it again, but I hope that it was helpful information to you. You may not agree, you may disagree. If you do, hey, write in, make a comment. I love it. That's what my channel's all about. It's for the exchange of information. See that little cracking there? See? Didn't affect the taste very much or the quality of the fig, but it's there. But it's not everywhere. There's plenty of beautiful figs on this tree. Still. But in all fairness, again, it was more in the ripening stage, than the more advanced than the others. Oh, a butterfly needs to get released. Look at that. I'll get them out. And I rescued them. Debbie sent me out here and I picked them and we made them into bread. So it wasn't a total waste. But these are things to know about. Like what figs do you want to have in your collection, in ground, and how to plant them on the highest ground. These are important things. So I'm not worried now. We've weathered the storm and we came through all right. This is Alma, which is a later, none of these have gotten right. This is my latest in-ground variety. And they're very, very good. And I highly recommend this tree because they will all get ripe during the fig season in southern New Jersey in 7A. And another Ronde Bordeaux. And there's plenty of more to get ripe that will get ripe. There's plenty of green ones that will come to maturation. I'm looking forward to them all because each one is a delicacy. And I mentioned here the Peter's honey are starting to swell. We talked about the LSU Tiger, and I'm highly recommending the Tiger. Maybe we should gulp down one more. This one seems like a nice ripening up here. There's quite a few of them. Look at that. Very thick-skinned. Very different. Very different. This is a different fig. Look at that. It's glistening with delightful temptations. Oh gosh, I love my figs, don't I? Jeez. Okay. What a delightful treat. This has got to be one of the best hobbies in the world. It certainly is if you love figs, and I do. Look at those nice ones. Okay. I hope you had fun. I always do. I enjoy your visits. Always. I have fun interacting with you all. My Figster comrades. The camaraderie is always good. Camaraderie is usually good in every application. It certainly is in gardening. It's a fellowship. It's a union. It's a togethership. It's a melding of the minds, if you will. And together, we stand to be a more formidable force for the good and for the advancement of our hobby than when we were individually admiring our interests in gardening. In this case, specifically, figs. Today, I love all gardening. We are stronger when we unify and when we share and when we reciprocate. So please write in. I love your comments. Before I leave, I'll do a real quick show of my little fig garden that I've been keeping you apprised of in each video successively. Please subscribe. I appreciate your subscriptions. It's the only way I know that I'm still having an impact, a positive impact on the fig community, on all of you figsters out there and people that are interested in the things that I am in. So far, you've showed that I should continue to make videos, and until I am getting signals, signs, and evidence that I need to stop, I'll continue, so long as you're enjoying the content of my videos, and if you're learning from them, or we're learning together, because I learn things every day. Still, I have more things I want to share. So many things. I've got videos that I've been wanting to make, and it's just so hard this time of year to keep up. Honestly, I have to be totally out in the open about that. So, some of the videos that I make, I just have to make spontaneously because I see... Wow, that was good luck. I dropped the phone completely. I felt an ant or a spider or something. Oh, it's a leaf. I just looked back. It's a persimmons leaf. I felt something on my neck. I thought it was a spider, and then I dropped the camera, my phone. Where was I? All right, well. Anyway, there's the fig garden, the cutting garden. And look how it's progressing. You've been following along, I hope. I've been showing you the various stages. I just put in some, just the other day before the rain, actually during the rain, I put in 4 more cuttings. This one, that one, and I kept them to the edge where I can identify them easily. And that one, there, if you can see it. Desert King. And my idea is with these Desert Kings, and I need to put some Celeste in too. The Chincotigs Celeste, which I forgot to grab some cuttings last week. But I may have to postpone them for some time because it's getting really late to propagate fig cuttings to where you get mature root balls. But look how they're doing. Those are Italian 258, and those are the Valle San Juan that I did much later, and they're all doing well. They're leafing out. The Valle San Juan, an Adriatic fig, and these are the 3 in here, 3 of the Black Madeira, which are, they all made it. I should have expanded the size of this and had more cuttings in here. But I have too much to do. Honestly, I really do. I'm overburdened. I'm working all the time, and it's not always easy this time of year. It's busy, and then I've got all the grass to cut and all the chores and all the maintenance, and it's a very large yard. Oh, we can go over to the Black Sicilian. I wanted to finish talking about the cuttings. What I was going to do, here we have, and this is a late mature, this Black Sicilian, which was good because there's one that's been pecked at. That's not a split. A bird or the squirrel's been getting into this darn net. I've just put this net on here yesterday, and it's not big enough to cover the whole tree. But this is a late mature, but they all mature during the summer, and they're going to start coming into fruition now. Look at all of them. This is a very, very prolific variant of Mount Etna, and it's one of the sweetest tasting of all of them. It's a medium size, not extra big and not small. It is later, as you can see. I mean, it's plain to see. The other day I made a video and I showed you my Hardy Chicago Unknown, or Mount Etna Unknown, which is my earliest And I've been picking figs off of that for quite some time. And they did very well in the rain, too. I should just take a quick step over there, but we picked quite a few figs off of that and put them in the bread. But none off this. It's just a later variant. The one I have is, and the other's just right over there. It's just right. I'll just walk it. I'll show you how close the earliest of my Mount Etnas is. There it is, right there. You can see it. That's it. That close. 25, 30 yards at the most. Up on the high ground, just like I've explained. Facing the same northwest dominant winds, which are very, very cold. Neither one of them is sheltered by the house or anything. They're in the open. They're both very winter hardy. They've both been here for a good number of years. They're both consistent in their production. One is much earlier. Look, after all the figs that I picked off this darn thing, look at all the right figs on here still. This is an unbelievable producer of early Mount Etna figs. Look, all the way around it. Now you don't see that on the Sicilian Dark, or the one I have. And so, what does that tell you? It shows you that what I've been saying all along. Although there's no question that these are very similar. These are Mount Etna figs. This one came from a region of the world that was different. The soil conditions were different. The nutrients in the soil were different. The humidity in the air was different. The temperature was different. The elevation perhaps was different. The farmers, the figsters that cultivated this particular variety and took cuttings was interested in a different factor or quality, perhaps earliness, and they kept picking and picking through human selection. They kept picking and modifying the results of this tree, and here you have a very different tree than over there, which is a different scenario. Look at all these ripe figs. I mean, it's just undeniable. And I've picked so many of these and put them into the breads and stuff. Okay? Debbie's inside right now. I should go inside. Maybe we should visit Debbie. She's making fig bread even as I speak. But you can see the difference. I mean, my goodness. And that's the case. That's the case. Look at that. That is glisteningly delicious. Wow. Look at that. This looks just like the malted black as far as the quality of the nectar. It's very, very rich and syrupy. Let's take a bite of this. Concentrated. Gosh. I'm really having a good time. I hope I'm not boring you too much. There's a couple other ripe ones in here, really, really ripe. And I'm going to take them inside. I've got to come out here and grab these. But back to the cuttings real quick. I wanted to tell you what my plan was. We'll just walk over here. It's just a few yards away. And I've been having a lot of beautiful butterflies today. All over the place, big, beautiful ones. Well, and Debbie's very interested in butterflies, so I try to capture them on film for her, or bring them to her attention when she's in the house. Here, I know there's a couple that didn't really die yet. Italian 258, and there's one over there somewhere underneath. But all the rest did beautifully. Look at them. They're really, these are turning into trees. So, and I only wanted a couple. But these over here, these Desert King, what I'm going to do with them, and I mentioned in past videos, is I'm going to let them grow, and then I'm going to graft onto them Ronde Bordeaux. Okay? One of my subscribers suggested that I do that, and it was a great idea. I'm not much for grafting figs. If you live into a place where you're not likely to get freeze back, then okay. But in my area, if you do a lot of fig grafting and then you get a real cold winter, you get a tremendous amount of dieback. You know, all that work is for nothing. And it's really, I would just rather stick to the varieties that I know are going to be less susceptible to the cold. And that's what I've done in my collection. And I've got quite a few varieties, and they're all doing well. And so I can't complain about the method, that my approach to how I deal with the excessive harsh winters of this region in 7A. But down in 7B, where I want to establish Ronde Bordeaux, which I don't need to wrap my figs there. I don't need to, okay? And I know that they won't die back. Even if I graft them, they won't die back. The chances of them dying back will be very slim, because I haven't had any dieback there. Just one really cold winter. I've talked about it in the past. Let's not talk about it now. It was a long time ago, and there was some dieback, but that's because the salt water came over the yard, and it flooded twice that year with the nor'easters, and so that was a factor in it. But anyway, it's very rare in the 34 years where I've been staying in the place where I show my videos in 7B. In 34 years, I've had almost no dieback. So I can graft there. Now you might say, but why would you want to graft there and not here, or what's the big deal? Well, the only big deal is that Ronde Bordeaux, I can't get it established the way I can other varieties, some other varieties, because the nematodes attack it with such ferocity that they don't survive well. Their growth is impeded, their fruit production is impeded, and it's basically just a failure. It's not what I want to see. I got to see, I want to have what I have. You know, I want vitality, I want vigor, I want a healthy tree. So, Desert King is very resistant to nematodes. I have a tree there that's over 30 years old. And so I took these cuttings from my Desert King, which I have made videos about in the past, a wonderful variety. And these are nice, thick, healthy, very beautiful. Look how beautiful these cuttings are. Can you see that? It's just nice. They were just beautiful. And I only took 4 and put them in here. And if they get established, then I'm going to pile up grass clippings, and I'm going to build up a little wall around them and protect them from the winter. And then in the spring, I'm going to graft them with Ronde Bordeaux, and then I'll plant them in 7B. So the rootstock will be resistant to the nematodes and the Ronde Bordeaux on top, and I'm going to cut them right at the bottom. I'm going to make sure that the trunk is just one trunk coming up, and it's going to be all Ronde Bordeaux on the top. And so that's how I'm going to circumvent the problem and bypass a difficulty and resolve a situation that so far I haven't had such good luck with in the last few years. All right, thank you for visiting. This has been fun. I'm not going to go any further. I look around and I see so many things I want to talk to you about, but we can make another video. We're going to continue to make videos, and I have some special videos I've been promising, and I'm going to get around to them. They're very special, and they're going to be different than what I've been characteristically accustomed to introducing to you. So with that, good day. And what a beautiful day it is.